The graveyard is full of unlived lives, dreams buried with excuses. I'm not taking my potential with me. I choose to die empty. Who's with me? Chapter 1. Stop waiting. Time is not on your side. Time is not neutral. It is never neutral. Time is either working for you, or it is working against you. There is no pause button. There is no holding pattern. There is no just one more day. Every day you wake up, time is asking you a question. Are you going to use me? Or are you going to waste me? You have a choice. And most people make the wrong one. They wait. They wait to feel ready. They wait to feel confident. They wait for the right moment. They wait for approval. And while they wait, life keeps moving. That's the key. Time does not wait for clarity. Time does not wait for courage. Time does not care about your plans. Time only responds to action. And the most dangerous sentence you can say is this: I'll do it later. Later is the most dangerous lie you tell yourself. Not because later never comes, but because later feels responsible. Later feels mature. Later feels safe. But later quietly kills momentum. Later turns dreams into ideas. Ideas into plans. Plans into excuses. And excuses into regret. You don't wake up one day and suddenly waste your life. You do it slowly. You do it politely. You do it by waiting. Look around. You know people like this. Talented people. Smart people. Capable people. People who are always about to start. They have notebooks full of ideas. Folders full of plans. Voices full of explanations. They say things like, I'm just getting ready. I'm still learning. I need a little more time. Years pass. Nothing changes. Because planning feels productive. But planning without execution is just fear in disguise. That's the truth. Waiting feels safe because it protects your ego. If you don't start, you can't fail. If you don't try, you can't be judged. But safety has a cost. The cost is your future. It's not about motivation. It's not about talent. It's not about intelligence. It's about urgency. You have a choice. You either act while it's uncomfortable, or you wait until it's impossible. And most people don't realize this until it's too late. They think time is unlimited. They think opportunity is patient. They think tomorrow is guaranteed. It's not. That's the key. Every delay strengthens fear. Every delay makes starting harder. Every delay trains you to hesitate. Waiting is a habit. And habits compound. So does action. The person who starts early doesn't always win because they're better. They win because they have momentum. Momentum forgives mistakes. Momentum creates confidence. Momentum attracts opportunity. Waiting does the opposite. Waiting shrinks your world. Waiting makes you doubt yourself. Waiting convinces you that you missed your moment. And here's the hard truth. You don't miss your moment because you're unlucky. You miss it because you waited. You don't need their permission. You don't need someone to believe in you first. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need to feel ready. Read that again. You don't need to feel ready. Readiness is not required for action. Action creates readiness. That's the key. Confidence is built after you start, not before. Clarity comes during movement, not before it. Waiting for confidence is backwards. Waiting for clarity is backwards. And time punishes backwards thinking. You have a choice. You can tell yourself the truth. Or you can keep lying politely. And the lie sounds like this. I'll start when things slow down. I'll start when I have more time. I'll start when I'm less busy. But things don't slow down. Life doesn't get quieter. Responsibilities don't disappear. They multiply. And the longer you wait, the heavier everything becomes. That's why time is not on your side. It never was. Time favors the bold. Time favors the decisive. Time favors the ones who move before they feel ready. And it punishes hesitation. Quietly. Consistently. Without mercy. You don't feel the punishment at first. You just feel tired. Unfulfilled. Restless. You feel like something is missing. What's missing is action. You are not meant to sit on your potential. You are not meant to think forever. You are not meant to plan your life away. You are meant to use what you have now, not later. Later is the most dangerous lie you tell yourself. Say it again. Later is the most dangerous lie you tell yourself. Because later steals urgency. Later numbs responsibility. Later makes you forget that time is limited. And once urgency is gone, discipline disappears. It's not about fear. It's not about talent. It's not about luck. It's about discipline. The discipline to start now. The discipline to act without certainty. The discipline to move before you feel comfortable. You have a choice. Every day, you either cast a vote for the life you want, or you cast a vote for the life you'll regret. There is no neutral vote. Even doing nothing is a decision. And time records every one. You don't need a new plan. You don't need a new strategy. You don't need a new identity. You need urgency. Urgency is what turns thought into action. Urgency is what separates dreamers from doers. Urgency is what keeps you from dying full. Because when time runs out, explanations don't matter. Only action counts. And the clock is already moving. You have a choice. Make it now. You've stopped waiting. You've faced the truth about time. Now it's time to confront what waiting was protecting you from in the first place. You mastered urgency. Now let's expose the real reason people hold back. Chapter 2. Your gifts were never meant to be private. You were not given your gifts for comfort. You were not given your abilities so you could feel special in private. You were not given your ideas so they could stay locked in your head. You were given your gifts for impact. Public impact. And this is the truth most people avoid. What you keep buried, the world never benefits from. Say it again. What you keep buried, the world never benefits from. Your talent is not yours alone. Your insight is not just for you. Your story is not meant to be hidden. And yet, that is exactly what most people do. They bury their gifts. They call it humility. They call it patience. They call it waiting for the right time. But most of the time, it's fear. Fear of being seen. Fear of being judged. Fear of being wrong. That's the key. Fear convinces you that hiding is harmless. It's not. Hiding has consequences. When you withhold your gifts, someone else pays the price. Someone doesn't hear the message they needed. Someone doesn't see the example that would have helped them. Someone stays stuck because you stayed silent. You don't think about that part. But it matters. You have a choice. You can protect your comfort. Or you can serve your purpose. You cannot do both. Most people want to feel ready before they share their work. They want confidence before they speak. They want validation before they create. But readiness is not required. That's the key. The people you admire didn't feel ready either. They felt unsure. They felt exposed. They felt afraid. And they acted anyway. Think about creators you respect. Writers. Speakers. Builders. Leaders. They didn't wait until doubt disappeared. They didn't wait until fear left. They moved with fear. They released work while uncertain. They spoke while nervous. They showed up before they felt qualified. You don't see the early versions. You don't hear the shaky beginnings. You only see the results. But every one of them started messy. And that's the part you forget. You compare your beginning to someone else's middle. And then you decide to stay quiet. That's a mistake. You have a choice. You can wait to be perfect. Or you can be useful. Perfection helps no one. Usefulness changes lives. What you keep buried, the world never benefits from. Your fear feels personal. But your silence affects others. That's the reframe. Fear is not just about you. Fear is selfish. It keeps you focused on how you look, instead of what you could give. You're worried about being judged. Someone else is desperate for guidance. You're worried about being wrong. Someone else just needs honesty. You're worried about being seen. Someone else needs permission to start. And that permission might come from watching you. You don't need their permission. You don't need approval to contribute. You don't need credentials to help. You don't need a title to serve. You need courage. And courage is not loud. It's not dramatic. It's not fearless. Courage is releasing what you have before you feel ready. That's the key. The world does not need more hidden talent. It needs more released effort. You might think your gift is small. You might think it's not enough. You might think others are better. That thinking is irrelevant. It's not about comparison. It's not about scale. It's not about being the best. It's about contribution. Someone is always one step behind you. Someone needs what you already know. Someone benefits from what you've already lived. And if you keep it private, they never get it. What you keep buried, the world never benefits from. You don't get to decide if your gift matters. That's not your job. Your job is to release it. Impact is decided on the receiving end, not the giving end. That's the key. You are not responsible for how it's received. You are responsible for whether it's shared. And most people fail right there. They overthink the outcome. They imagine rejection. They picture criticism. And then they stay silent. But silence doesn't protect you. It just delays regret. You have a choice. You can be invisible and comfortable, or visible and impactful. Comfort fades. Impact remains. And here's the hard truth. At the end of your life, you won't regret the times you tried and failed. You'll regret the times you never tried at all. You'll regret the ideas you didn't share, the words you didn't speak, the work you didn't release. Because deep down, you knew better. You knew your gifts weren't meant to be private. They were meant to move, to reach, to serve. It's not about fear. It's not about confidence. It's not about talent. It's about discipline. The discipline to show up. The discipline to share imperfectly. The discipline to give before you feel ready. That discipline is how you honor what you were given. You don't honor your gifts by protecting them. You honor them by using them. Daily. Publicly. Consistently. You have a choice. Bury your potential. Or release it. Hide your voice. Or use it. Die full. Or die empty. And understand this clearly. If you keep your gifts private, they don't stay safe. They decay. Unused potential does not sit quietly. It turns into frustration. Then resentment. Then regret. That's the cost of hiding. And the world loses something too. What you keep buried, the world never benefits from. You've stopped waiting. You've confronted your silence. Now it's time to face the enemy that convinces you staying comfortable is enough. You've released the idea of hiding. Now let's talk about the trap that keeps people small even after they start. Chapter 3. Comfort is the silent killer of greatness. Comfort is not evil, but it is dangerous. Comfort feels good, but it costs everything. Say it again. Comfort feels good, but it costs everything. Comfort does not attack you loudly. It does not rush you. It does not scare you. Comfort whispers. It tells you to relax. It tells you that what you have is enough. It tells you there's no need to push today. And slowly, quietly, it puts your potential to sleep. That's the key. Comfort doesn't destroy your life overnight. It erodes it over time. You don't notice it at first. You just stop stretching. You stop risking. You stop growing. And one day, you wake up frustrated. Not because your life is hard, but because it's empty. You have a choice. You can choose what feels easy now, or you can choose what matters later. Most people choose easy. They choose stability over purpose. They choose safety over meaning. They choose routine over growth. And then they wonder why they feel trapped. Look around. You see it everywhere. People stay in jobs they hate because the paycheck is predictable. They stay in relationships that drain them because leaving feels uncomfortable. They stay in habits that numb them because changing feels hard. And they call it being realistic. But deep down, they know the truth. They're comfortable. And they're miserable. Comfort feels good, but it costs everything. It costs ambition. It costs hunger. It costs urgency. And eventually, it costs fulfillment. That's the pattern. People don't fail because life is too hard. They fail because life is too easy. Too predictable. Too padded. Too safe. And safety is addictive. Once you get used to comfort, growth feels like pain. Discipline feels like punishment. Challenge feels like a threat. So you avoid it. You tell yourself stories. I'll push later. This is good enough. At least I'm stable. Later becomes never. Good enough becomes regret. Stable becomes stuck. That's the key. Comfort locks you into the present and steals your future. You don't need their permission. You don't need society's approval to want more. You don't need anyone's blessing to leave comfort behind. You need honesty. Ask yourself this. Are you choosing this life because it's meaningful? Or because it's familiar? Familiar is not the same as fulfilling. Comfort is familiar. Growth is uncomfortable. And greatness lives in discomfort. You have a choice. You can chase comfort. Or you can chase meaning. You cannot chase both. Every meaningful life demands sacrifice. Every fulfilled person pays a price. The price is discomfort. Early mornings. Hard conversations. Lonely seasons. Uncertain outcomes. That's the cost. And comfort trains you to avoid all of it. Comfort teaches you to negotiate with discipline. To justify laziness. To delay effort. It's not the right time. I've earned a break. I'll do it tomorrow. Comfort feels good, but it costs everything. Here's the hard truth. No one ever looks back and says, I wish I stayed more comfortable. They say the opposite. I wish I took the risk. I wish I tried. I wish I didn't play it so safe. That regret doesn't come from failure. It comes from avoidance. From choosing comfort over courage. And here's what makes comfort so dangerous. It rewards you immediately. It punishes you later. Discomfort punishes you immediately. It rewards you later. That's the trade. Comfort gives you short-term relief. Long-term regret. Discipline gives you short-term pain. Long-term freedom. It's not about comfort. It's not about ease. It's not about feeling good. It's about discipline. That's the key. Discipline is how you tell comfort no. Discipline is how you choose growth on hard days. Discipline is how you protect your future self. Without discipline, comfort always wins. And when comfort wins, potential loses. You don't lose your dreams all at once. You trade them away slowly. One easy choice at a time. Skipping the work today. Avoiding the conversation. Settling for less effort. It feels harmless. It's not. Those small choices compound. Just like discipline compounds. Just like growth compounds. You have a choice. Every time you choose comfort, ask yourself this. What is this costing me later? Because it always costs something. Comfort costs progress. Comfort costs strength. Comfort costs self-respect. And self-respect is built by doing hard things. Even when you don't feel like it. That's the key. You don't feel proud after an easy day. You feel proud after a disciplined one. Comfort gives you pleasure. Discipline gives you identity. And identity lasts. You don't need their permission. You don't need approval to choose a harder path. You don't need validation to want more from yourself. You need courage. The courage to be uncomfortable on purpose. To wake up early when it would be easier to sleep. To speak up when it would be easier to stay quiet. To leave situations that keep you small. That discomfort is not a sign you're wrong. It's a sign you're growing. That's the reframe. Stop asking, is this comfortable? Start asking, is this meaningful? Comfort will always say no to growth. Meaning will always demand sacrifice. And sacrifice is not loss. Sacrifice is investment. You sacrifice comfort today. To buy freedom tomorrow. You sacrifice ease today. To earn fulfillment later. Comfort feels good, but it costs everything. Say it again. Comfort feels good, but it costs everything. You were not built for a padded life. You were built for a purposeful one. And purpose always requires discomfort. You've stopped waiting. You've released your gifts. Now you must stop protecting your comfort. Because comfort is the last thing standing. between you and a life that matters. You have a choice. Stay comfortable and stay small. Or step into discomfort and grow. You've faced comfort. Now it's time to face the voice that still tells you to stop when things get hard. You abandoned comfort. Now let's talk about the emotion everyone waits to disappear before they act. Chapter 4. Fear never leaves. You just learn to move anyway. Fear is not your enemy. Obedience to fear is. Fear is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that something matters. That's the key. If you are waiting for fear to disappear, you will wait forever. Fear does not leave. It does not retire. It does not get tired. Fear stays. And successful people know this. They don't eliminate fear. They move with it. Say this out loud. Courage is movement, not confidence. Say it again. Courage is movement, not confidence. Most people get this backwards. They think confidence comes first. They think courage follows. It doesn't. Movement comes first. Confidence follows. That's the key. Fear shows up before every meaningful action. Before starting a business. Before speaking up. Before changing your life. If fear is present, you are probably on the right path. But fear lies to you. It tells you to wait. It tells you to prepare more. It tells you to stay safe. And if you listen, fear wins. You have a choice. You can obey fear. Or you can move anyway. Most people obey. They say things like, I'm scared. I'm nervous. I don't feel ready. And they stop. But fear was never asking for obedience. It was testing your commitment. That's the key. Look at people you admire. They were afraid too. The speaker giving the talk felt nervous. The creator posting their first work felt exposed. The leader making the decision felt unsure. They didn't wait for fear to leave. They moved with it. And because they moved, they grew. Fear shrinks when you move. Fear grows when you hesitate. That's how it works. Every time you avoid fear, it gets stronger. Every time you face it, it loses power. You don't need their permission. You don't need permission to be afraid. You don't need permission to act while afraid. Fear does not disqualify you. Avoidance does. You've been taught the wrong lesson. You were taught to be fearless. That's impossible. You were not built to be fearless. You were built to be brave. Bravery is not the absence of fear. It is action in the presence of fear. That's the key. Think about learning to walk. You fell. You were unsure. You were scared. But you moved anyway. And movement taught you balance. Life works the same way. Fear is part of the process. It always has been. But here's where people get stuck. They treat fear like a warning sign, instead of a training signal. Fear is not saying stop. Fear is saying pay attention. Pay attention to what you want. Pay attention to what matters. You are afraid because you care. And caring is not weakness. Obedience is. You have a choice. You can let fear decide your limits. Or you can decide your direction. Direction beats emotion every time. Fear is emotional. Direction is intentional. That's the key. Here is what fearless-looking people actually do. They set rules. They don't ask, how do I feel? They ask, what needs to be done? They don't wait for courage. They schedule action. They move first. They feel better later. It's not about fear. It's not about confidence. It's about discipline. Discipline tells fear, you can come with me, but you don't get to drive. That's the mindset. Fear can sit in the passenger seat. It cannot hold the wheel. Most people let fear drive. They let it choose their job, their relationships, their habits. And fear always chooses small. Fear chooses comfort. Fear chooses delay. Fear chooses safety. Discipline chooses growth. You have a choice. Every day, fear asks you a question. Are you going to move anyway? And every day you answer. With action. Or with excuses. Fear respects action. When you move, fear adjusts. When you hesitate, fear expands. That's the key. Here is a practical rule. If something scares you but aligns with your values, do it. Not perfectly. Not confidently. Do it scared. Send the message. Make the call. Start the work. Small steps count. Fear does not disappear with thinking. It disappears with exposure. That's how you train courage. Not with affirmations. Not with motivation. With repetition. Action. Again. And again. Courage is movement, not confidence. Say it again. Courage is movement, not confidence. Most people wait to feel brave. Brave people move until they feel strong. Strength is earned. And fear is the weight. You don't build muscle by avoiding weight. You don't build courage by avoiding fear. You build both by lifting what feels heavy. That's the key. Fear will tell you stories. You'll fail. You'll be embarrassed. You're not ready. Fear exaggerates. It always has. Fear predicted danger that never came. Fear imagined rejection that didn't happen. Fear warned you of outcomes that never arrived. And even when things went wrong, you survived. Fear never gives you credit for that. It only reminds you of what could go wrong next. That's why fear cannot be your leader. It can be your signal. Your indicator. But not your boss. You don't need their permission. You don't need permission to feel afraid. You don't need permission to act anyway. You need commitment. Commitment to movement. When fear shows up, move. When doubt speaks, act. When hesitation slows you down, take the next small step. That is how people change their lives. Not with confidence. With courage. And courage is movement. You've stopped waiting. You've released your gifts. You've stepped out of comfort. Now you understand fear. It's not going away. And that's fine. Because you don't need fear to leave. You need discipline to lead. You've learned to move anyway. Now it's time to talk about the habit that keeps fear alive even after you start. You faced fear. Now let's expose the behavior that quietly replaces action with distraction. Chapter 5. Stop consuming. Start creating. Most people are not lazy. They are distracted. They are busy. They are informed. They are entertained. And they are producing nothing. That's the key. They consume all day. So they never have to take responsibility. Scroll. Watch. Listen. Save. Plan. And then repeat. This is the modern trap. Endless consumption feels productive. It feels like progress. It feels like preparation. But it's not. It's hiding. Say this clearly. You can't create and hide at the same time. Say it again. You can't create and hide at the same time. Creation exposes you. Consumption protects you. Creation requires ownership. Consumption requires nothing. And most people choose what feels safer. They tell themselves lies. I'm still learning. I'm doing research. I'm not ready yet. But learning without execution is procrastination. Research without action is avoidance. That's the truth. You don't need more information. You need more output. That's the key. Look at how people spend their time. Hours scrolling social media. Watching other people live. Watching other people build. Watching other people win. And they call it inspiration. It's not inspiration. It's substitution. You substitute watching for doing. Planning for acting. Thinking for building. And the longer you consume, the harder it is to create. Because consumption trains passivity. Creation trains responsibility. You have a choice. You can be a consumer of other people's work. Or a creator of your own. You cannot be both at the same level. One will always dominate. And right now, consumption is winning. You don't need their permission. You don't need permission to create before you're ready. You don't need permission to start small. You don't need permission to put imperfect work into the world. You need discipline. Discipline to limit input. Discipline to demand output. It's not about lack of ideas. It's not about lack of talent. It's about discipline. That's the key. Most people already know enough to start. They just don't want to be seen starting poorly. So they hide behind preparation. They buy courses they don't finish. They read books they don't apply. They watch videos they don't act on. They mistake consumption for progress. Progress only happens when something is produced. A page written. A video recorded. A product built. A message shared. If nothing is produced, nothing changes. You can't create and hide at the same time. Creation is uncomfortable. Creation invites judgment. Creation forces accountability. Consumption avoids all of that. That's why it's addictive. You can consume endlessly and feel busy, without ever risking failure. But you also never risk success. That's the trade. Here is a hard rule you need to hear. If you are consuming more than you are creating, you are falling behind. Not because others are better, but because you are not practicing. Skill comes from output. Confidence comes from repetition. Clarity comes from doing, not from watching. That's the key. You don't get good by preparing forever. You get good by starting badly and continuing anyway. Every creator you admire started with work they would never release today. They grew because they produced. You stay stuck because you consume. You have a choice. You can scroll for comfort, or you can create for growth. Scroll numbs. Create sharpens. Scroll fills time. Create builds legacy. And legacy requires output. You don't need more time. You need boundaries. Boundaries around what you consume. Boundaries around how long you prepare. Here's a simple rule. For every hour you consume, you must create something. One paragraph. One idea. One action. No exceptions. That's discipline. And discipline is freedom. It's not about motivation. It's not about inspiration. It's about showing up to produce, even when you don't feel like it. That's the key. Most people say, I don't know what to create. That's not true. They know. They just don't want to commit. Because commitment removes excuses. Once you create, you can't pretend anymore. You can't say, I could have. Now it's real. Creation forces honesty. Consumption allows fantasy. Fantasy feels good. Reality builds lives. You can't create and hide at the same time. You either risk being seen, or you guarantee being forgotten. And here's what no one tells you. The world rewards creators, not consumers. Creators build influence. Creators build leverage. Creators build meaning. Consumers stay entertained. And empty. That's the cost. You feel busy but unfulfilled. Informed but powerless. Inspired but inactive. And that gap creates frustration. Frustration turns into self-doubt. Self-doubt turns into numbness. All because output was avoided. It's not about fear. It's not about confidence. It's about discipline. Discipline to sit down and create. Discipline to finish something. Discipline to publish without perfection. Perfection is just another hiding place. You don't need their permission. You don't need permission to be imperfect. You don't need permission to be a beginner. Beginners who create always beat experts who hide. That's the key. The habit that will change your life is not learning more. It's producing daily. Even when it's small. Even when it's messy. Even when no one sees it. Because output compounds. 1 day turns into 10. 10 turns into 100. 100 turns into mastery. But only if you start. Stop asking, what should I consume next? Start asking, what will I create today? That question changes everything. You have a choice. Consume to escape responsibility. Or create to build responsibility. Only one leads to a life that matters. You've stopped waiting. You've released your gifts. You've stepped out of comfort. You've learned to move with fear. Now it's time to take full ownership. Because creation demands responsibility. You've stopped hiding behind consumption. Now let's talk about the final excuse people cling to when creation gets uncomfortable. You've chosen to create. Now let's remove the illusion that someone else is coming to rescue you. Chapter 6. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming. No mentor is arriving at the perfect moment. No opportunity is knocking at just the right time. No one is going to hand you permission to become who you know you should be. That's the truth. And it's uncomfortable. But it's also freeing. Because the moment you accept this, everything changes. Say this clearly. Responsibility is the price of freedom. Say it again. Responsibility is the price of freedom. Most people don't want freedom. They want relief. They want someone else to fix it. Someone else to notice them. Someone else to choose them. So they wait. They wait for support. They wait for approval. They wait for conditions to improve. And while they wait, life passes. That's the trap. Waiting for permission keeps you powerless. Waiting for rescue keeps you small. You have a choice. You can wait and complain. Or you can take ownership and move. You cannot do both. Look at how people explain their lives. They blame the economy. They blame their upbringing. They blame their lack of connections. They blame timing. And sometimes, those things are real. But blaming them changes nothing. That's the key. Blame gives you a story. Responsibility gives you results. People who blame feel justified. People who take responsibility get free. Freedom does not come from fairness. It comes from ownership. And ownership is heavy. That's why most people avoid it. Because once you take responsibility, you lose excuses. You can't say, "It's not my fault." You can't say, "Someone should help me." You can't say, "I'm waiting on them." You have to say, "This is on me." And that sentence changes everything. You don't need their permission. You don't need permission to take responsibility. You don't need permission to lead yourself. You don't need permission to decide. Waiting for permission is just fear wearing a polite mask. Fear of being wrong. Fear of being alone. Fear of being accountable. But accountability is power. That's the key. The moment you stop waiting to be saved, you start building strength. Think about people you respect. They didn't have perfect conditions. They didn't have all the answers. They didn't have guarantees. What they had was ownership. They stopped saying, "This happened to me," and started saying, "This is mine to handle." That shift is everything. Victimhood feels safe. It explains why you didn't try. It explains why you stayed stuck. But victimhood steals your future. Because if it's not your fault, it's not your power either. Responsibility is the price of freedom. Say it again. Responsibility is the price of freedom. Freedom to choose your direction. Freedom to change your habits. Freedom to build something better. But freedom demands leadership. Self-leadership. No one is coming to manage your time. No one is coming to protect your focus. No one is coming to force discipline into your life. That's your job. And the sooner you accept that, the faster you grow. Most people don't fail because life is unfair. They fail because they outsource responsibility. They wait for motivation. They wait for support. They wait for clarity. But clarity comes after commitment. Support comes after action. Motivation comes after momentum. That's the key. You don't get ready, then act. You act, then you get ready. You have a choice. You can keep saying, "If only things were different." Or you can say, "Given how things are, what am I going to do?" One question keeps you stuck. The other moves you forward. You don't need their permission. You don't need permission to change your routine. You don't need permission to set boundaries. You don't need permission to outgrow people. Growth often feels lonely at first. Because when you stop blaming, you stop bonding over excuses. And not everyone will like that. That's fine. This is your life. And leadership starts with self-respect. Self-respect is built when your actions match your values. And that only happens when you take responsibility. It's not about circumstances. It's not about luck. It's about discipline. Discipline to own your choices. Discipline to stop blaming. Discipline to lead yourself when no one is watching. That discipline is freedom. Here's a hard exercise. Every time you complain, ask yourself this: what part of this is my responsibility? Not to shame yourself. Not to blame yourself. but to reclaim your power. Because power lives where responsibility is accepted. If you avoid responsibility, you avoid power. That's the trade. No one is coming to save you. And that's not a curse. It's a challenge. It means your future is not locked behind someone else's decision. It's unlocked by yours. You don't need rescue. You need resolve. Resolve to wake up and lead yourself. Resolve to do what needs to be done. Resolve to stop waiting. Responsibility is the price of freedom. And freedom is the only path to a life that is fully lived. You've stopped waiting. You've released your gifts. You've stepped out of comfort. You've learned to move with fear. You've chosen creation over consumption. Now you've accepted responsibility. But responsibility alone is not enough. Ownership must turn into consistency. You've taken control. Now let's talk about the daily force that turns responsibility into legacy. You've accepted that no one is coming. Now it's time to talk about what you must do every day to honor that truth. Chapter 7. Discipline is how you honor your potential. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. It shows up when it wants, and disappears when you need it most. Discipline is different. Discipline stays. That's the key. Motivation talks. Discipline works. Motivation feels good. Discipline gets results. And if you want to die empty, discipline is non-negotiable. Say this clearly. Consistency turns intention into legacy. Say it again. Consistency turns intention into legacy. You don't honor your potential by talking about it. You don't honor your potential by believing in it. You honor your potential by working it. Daily. Most people have good intentions. They want to change. They want to grow. They want to do something meaningful. But intention without discipline is useless. That's the truth. You have a choice. You can live by how you feel. Or you can live by what you commit to. Feelings change. Commitments build lives. Most people wait to feel motivated before they act. Disciplined people act even when motivation is gone. That's the difference. That's the key. Greatness is not exciting. It's repetitive. It's boring. It's built in silence. People see the results and think it was talent. They think it was luck. They think it was timing. It wasn't. It was consistency. Small actions done daily. Unseen work done repeatedly. Choices made when no one was watching. That's how potential becomes reality. Consistency turns intention into legacy. Look at real examples. The writer who writes every day, even when the words feel weak. The athlete who trains even when the body is tired. The creator who shows up even when no one is paying attention. They don't rely on motivation. They rely on routine. Routine is discipline in action. And routine is what separates dreamers from builders. You don't need their permission. You don't need permission to be disciplined. You don't need permission to set standards. You don't need permission to expect more from yourself. Discipline is a personal contract. A promise you keep to yourself. Even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. Most people quit when things get boring. They quit when progress slows. They quit when excitement fades. But boredom is not a stop sign. Boredom is the price of mastery. That's the key. Every meaningful result comes from doing the same basic things. Over and over again. Showing up. Doing the work. Repeating the process. No applause. No shortcuts. Just discipline. It's not about talent. It's not about intelligence. It's not about passion. It's about discipline. Discipline to start on time. Discipline to finish what you begin. Discipline to keep going when quitting feels easier. You have a choice. You can chase excitement. Or you can build consistency. Excitement fades fast. Consistency compounds. And compounding changes everything. One disciplined hour a day beats one motivated week a year. One small habit repeated daily beats one big effort done once. That's the math of success. Consistency turns intention into legacy. Say it again. Consistency turns intention into legacy. Here's what discipline actually looks like. It's waking up when you said you would. It's doing the work even when it's not perfect. It's sticking to the plan even when results are slow. It's boring. And that's why it works. Discipline removes decision fatigue. You don't ask, "Do I feel like it?" You ask, "What did I commit to?" That's the key. Feelings negotiate. Discipline executes. Most people let their mood decide their behavior. Disciplined people let their values decide. Values don't change daily. Moods do. That's why discipline creates stability. And stability creates progress. You don't build a legacy in bursts. You build it in blocks. Daily blocks of effort. Daily blocks of focus. Daily blocks of responsibility. That's how you honor what you were given. Your potential is not honored by intention. It's honored by action. Repeated action. And here's the hard truth. If your life does not reflect your potential, it's not because you lack ability. It's because you lack discipline. That's uncomfortable, but it's empowering. Because discipline is a skill, and skills can be trained. You don't need to overhaul your life. You need to tighten your standards. Pick a few non-negotiables. One habit you do daily. One promise you keep no matter what. One action that moves you forward. Start small. Stay consistent. That's discipline. Discipline is not punishment. It's protection. It protects you from excuses. It protects you from regret. It protects your future self. You have a choice. You can keep negotiating with yourself, or you can decide once and follow through. Negotiation drains energy. Decisions create momentum. That's the key. Most people know what to do. They just don't do it consistently. Consistency is rare. That's why it's valuable. Anyone can start. Few continue. And continuation is what separates those who die full from those who die empty. You don't need their permission. You don't need permission to be disciplined. You don't need permission to say no to distractions. You don't need permission to focus. Focus is discipline. And discipline is respect. Respect for your time. Respect for your gifts. Respect for your future. Consistency turns intention into legacy. Every day you show up, you deposit into your future. Every day you skip, you withdraw. And the account always balances. You don't get to cheat it. You get out what you put in. That's the rule. Greatness is not dramatic. It's quiet. It's repetitive. It's earned. Day after day. Choice after choice. You've accepted responsibility. Now you understand discipline. But discipline alone is not the final test. Because even disciplined people struggle with one thing: regret. You've learned how to build. Now it's time to confront what happens if you don't finish. You've learned how to honor your potential. Now let's talk about the final cost of leaving it unused. Chapter 8. Die empty, or die with regret. Every life ends. That is not a threat. It is a fact. And when it ends, something else begins. Reflection. That's the key. At the end, no one thinks about their excuses. No one replays their fears. No one remembers how busy they were. They remember what they didn't do. Regret is the interest paid on unused potential. Say it again. Regret is the interest paid on unused potential. Regret compounds. It grows quietly over time. It starts small. A decision delayed. A dream postponed. And then one day, it's heavy. Too heavy to ignore. Most people don't fear death. They fear looking back. They fear realizing they lived safely, instead of fully. They fear knowing they had more to give, and chose not to. That's the truth no one wants to face. The graveyard is full of unlived lives. Say it again. The graveyard is full of unlived lives. People who meant to try. People who planned to start. People who waited for the right time. They were talented. They were capable. They were full. And they took it all with them. That's the tragedy. Not that they failed, but that they never finished. You have a choice. You can live in a way that minimizes regret, or you can live in a way that creates it. Regret does not come from failure. It comes from avoidance. It comes from knowing you could have acted, and choosing not to. Imagine the end. Not dramatically. Not emotionally. Just honestly. Imagine sitting alone with your thoughts, and nothing left to distract you. No noise. No scrolling. No excuses. Just you and your life. What do you wish you had said? What do you wish you had tried? What do you wish you had finished? Those answers matter, because they are speaking to you now. That's the key. Regret is a message from your future self, and it's asking one question. Why didn't you use what you had? You don't need their permission. You don't need permission to take your life seriously. You don't need permission to want more. You don't need permission to live fully. Most people wait for permission to begin, then run out of time to finish. And time does not negotiate. Time does not care how good your intentions were. Time only cares what you did. Regret is not loud at first. It whispers, "You'll do it later. You still have time." It's not urgent. But later becomes never. Time becomes short. And urgency arrives too late. That's how regret is born. Regret is the interest paid on unused potential, unused ideas, unused courage, unused discipline. And the interest rate is high. Every year you delay, regret grows. Every year you hide, it compounds. Until one day, it owns you. You see it in people's eyes. They're not angry at the world. They're angry at themselves. For staying comfortable. For playing small. For not trying. They don't say it out loud, but they feel it every day. That quiet dissatisfaction. That constant restlessness. That sense of this isn't it. That's regret starting early. And here's the truth. Regret does not wait until the end of life. It starts the moment you abandon your potential. You feel it when you avoid the work. You feel it when you choose comfort. You feel it when you ignore the call to grow. That feeling is not confusion. It's clarity. That's the key. Your conscience knows when you are wasting yourself, and it will remind you, over and over, until you listen. You have a choice. You can numb that feeling, distract yourself, stay busy, or you can act. Action is the only cure for regret. Not thinking, not planning, not hoping. Action. Release the idea. Make the call. Do the work. Now. Not later. Because later is expensive. The graveyard is full of unlived lives. People who waited for confidence. People who waited for certainty. People who waited for approval. They didn't realize this. No one ever feels ready at the beginning. You feel ready after you begin. That's the key. Regret does not come from doing too much. It comes from doing too little. No one regrets trying and failing. They regret never trying at all. Failure teaches. Regret haunts. Failure is temporary. Regret is permanent. And the only way to avoid it is to empty yourself while you still can. Empty your ideas into the world. Empty your effort into your work. Empty your courage into your choices. Don't save anything for someday. Someday is not a day on the calendar. It's a graveyard for intentions. You don't need their permission. You don't need permission to take risks. You don't need permission to change direction. You don't need permission to give everything you have. You were not meant to store your potential. You were meant to spend it. Fully. Intentionally. Daily. It's not about fear. It's not about doubt. It's about discipline. Discipline to show up. Discipline to finish. Discipline to give more than you take. That discipline is how you die empty. Dying empty does not mean exhaustion. It means completion. It means you tried. You gave. You finished. Nothing left hidden. Nothing left unsaid. Nothing left undone. That's the goal. Not perfection. Completion. You have a choice. Carry your gifts quietly to the end, or release them loudly while you can. One path leads to comfort and regret. The other leads to meaning and peace. And peace does not come from an easy life. It comes from an honest one. A life where you did not betray yourself. A life where you answered the call. A life where you used what you were given. The graveyard is full of unlived lives. But yours does not have to be one of them. You've learned to stop waiting. You've released your gifts. You've stepped out of comfort. You've moved with fear. You've created instead of consumed. You've taken responsibility. You've built discipline. Now there is only one thing left: to live it out. To empty yourself daily. To hold nothing back. To finish strong. You've faced regret. Now it's time to turn everything you've learned into action. You've seen the cost of dying full. Now let's make the final decision together. Chapter 9. Final Charge. This is it. No more theory. No more preparation. No more listening without doing. This is the moment where everything you've heard either becomes action or becomes noise. That's the key. Most people consume messages like this and feel inspired for a moment. They nod. They agree. They feel something. And then they go back to their old life. That cannot be you. You didn't come this far to stay the same. You have a choice. You can treat this as motivation. Or you can treat this as instruction. Motivation fades. Instruction changes behavior. Live it now. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. Because the truth is simple. You already know what to do. You know the habit you need to stop. You know the action you've been avoiding. You know the conversation you've been postponing. Clarity is not your problem. Execution is. That's the key. Stop telling yourself you need more time. Time is not what you're missing. You're missing urgency. Urgency is what turns knowledge into movement. Urgency is what turns intention into discipline. And urgency only comes when you accept this. This life is not a rehearsal. There is no practice round. There is no reset button. There is no second draft. You get one run. And you are in it right now. Live it now. Most people live like they have unlimited chances. They live like tomorrow is guaranteed. They live like later is safe. It's not. Later is the most dangerous lie you tell yourself. Later dulls urgency. Later weakens discipline. Later feeds regret. You don't need their permission. You don't need permission to take your life seriously. You don't need permission to change direction. You don't need permission to demand more from yourself. You need honesty. Ask yourself this honestly. If nothing changed for the next 5 years, would you be proud of how you're living right now? That answer matters. Because your current actions are voting for your future. Every habit is a vote. Every excuse is a vote. Every delay is a vote. And the votes add up. You have a choice. You can vote for comfort. Or you can vote for growth. Comfort gives you relief today. Growth gives you peace later. Peace comes from alignment. Alignment between who you are and how you live. Most people are misaligned. They want more, but act small. They value freedom, but avoid discipline. They dream big, but live cautiously. That gap creates pain. And pain is not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet dissatisfaction. A constant sense of, I should be doing more. A feeling you can't quite explain. That feeling is not negativity. It's awareness. That's the key. Your conscience is not attacking you. It's guiding you. And it's saying the same thing over and over. Live it now. Stop postponing your life. Stop delaying the work. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop negotiating with yourself. Negotiation weakens resolve. Decisions create momentum. Decide. Decide what matters. Decide who you are becoming. Decide what you will no longer tolerate. And then act in alignment with that decision. Daily. It's not about fear. It's not about doubt. It's about discipline. Discipline is how you translate values into action. Discipline is how you protect your future self. Without discipline, values are just words. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. That's the key. So look at your habits. They are honest. They don't lie. Your habits reveal what you truly value. Not what you say you value. What you actually value. If you value growth, your habits will show effort. If you value comfort, your habits will show avoidance. And if you don't like what your habits reveal, Change them. Not someday. Now. Live it now. You don't transform your life in one dramatic moment. You transform it through small disciplined actions repeated daily. One choice at a time. One decision at a time. And the hardest part is the beginning. Because the beginning has no momentum. You must create it. Momentum does not come from thinking. It comes from movement. So move. Even if it's imperfect. Even if it's uncomfortable. Even if it's small. Small steps count. Consistency beats intensity. Every time. That's the key. Stop waiting to feel different. Act different, and feelings will follow. You don't think your way into a new life. You behave your way into one. And behavior responds to structure. So structure your days. Wake up with intention. Plan your priorities. Protect your focus. Your time is your life. And how you spend your time is how you spend yourself. Spend yourself wisely. Not on distraction. Not on avoidance. Not on things that don't matter. Spend yourself on what counts. Your craft. Your growth. Your contribution. You don't need their permission. You don't need permission to be disciplined. You don't need permission to say no. You don't need permission to choose a harder path. Hard paths build strong people. Easy paths build regret. And regret is expensive. Regret costs peace. Regret costs confidence. Regret costs self-respect. But regret is optional. That's the truth. You don't avoid regret by being perfect. You avoid regret by being honest. Honest about what you want. Honest about what you're avoiding. Honest about what must change. And then doing something about it. Live it now. Not because life is short, but because it is uncertain. Not because you are afraid of death, but because you respect your potential. Potential unused is wasted life. And wasted life always comes with regret. But a life spent fully, even imperfectly, comes with peace. Peace comes from knowing you tried. That you gave effort. That you didn't hide. That when fear showed up, you moved anyway. When comfort tempted you, you chose meaning. When excuses appeared, you chose discipline. That is how you die empty. Not exhausted. Completed. Empty of regret. Empty of what if. Empty of unused gifts. Full of effort. Full of contribution. Full of truth. You have a choice. Right now. Not later. Later is not promised. Right now, you can decide. I will stop waiting. I will stop hiding. I will stop postponing my life. I will act. I will create. I will discipline myself daily. Not perfectly, but consistently. Consistency turns intention into legacy. Say it again. Consistency turns intention into legacy. This is your final charge. Not from me. From your future self. The version of you who looks back and asks one question. Did you live it while you could? Answer that question with your actions. Starting now. You don't need more time. You don't need more confidence. You don't need permission. You already have what you need. What you lack is the decision to release it. Every day you delay, something inside you expires. Every time you choose comfort, potential dies quietly. And every excuse you repeat today becomes regret tomorrow. This audiobook was not meant to inspire you. It was meant to expose you. To remind you that your life is not measured by how long you live, but by how much you give. So here is the challenge. Create what you've been avoiding. Speak what you've been silencing. Start what you keep postponing. Do not negotiate with fear. Do not wait for clarity. Do not die full. Go empty your gifts into the world. And live fulfilled.